So, back again, Ian Kelly, here to talk about Soulful of It, his latest album with Drew Banga, and I guess technically Amen, because she's all over this thing.
Yeah, she's a heavy part of it for sure.
So this album came out September 26th, right?
Yes, sir.
So it's been about 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
Yeah,
Actually, 3 weeks today or tomorrow.
tomorrow should be 3 weeks, touching 3 weeks. Yeah.
And then, yeah, by the time people are watching this, probably just after that, so close to a month.
Mm-hmm.
So we've had some time to listen to it. We had a brief conversation at that listening session. So if you haven't checked that out, definitely watch that.
Tap in with me.
You do a quick catch up sort of thing. But for those of you who don't want to go back and listen to that, what's this album about?
This album, for me, what it's about, honestly, is a coming of age story. Is the way I look at it. I said the same thing about the single itself, but the way Soulful of It for me is taking all these different moments that took place in Oakland, California, and finding the silver lining in every moment. You know, whether it's good, bad, ugly, and that's what Soulful of It meant for me.
And you mixed a bunch of different sounds with it as well. You pulled a little bit of the, I guess, traditional bass sound, but also mixed it in with the soul. And I know Drew was a huge part of that.
Definitely.
But how much of it was him or you telling him, oh, I want this sort of beat, and him just saying, hey, this is what I got?
To be honest, it kind of was like a co-mesh. Like, you know, he would start playing, you know, certain type of sounds, and I'd be like, all right, bro, let's go this way with it. And he would just take it and run with it. And I remember also kind of saying, like, I wanted like a ghetto gospel type of feel, and seeing that like Drew had a church background, and then me, you know, I've dealt with church for surely a lot of my own life. It just kind of started coming together that way. So that's why some of the first couple records, you can even hear like certain chords that actually feel like that type of feel, and then we just kind of expanded from there.
You kind of get a little bit of organs in there.
There you go.
A little bit of horns.
A little bit of horns.
A little bit of everything there. Nah, that's what's up.
Kev choice on the keys, and you know, Kev can play any and everything. So yeah, it brought everything out.
Yeah, there was a lot of people involved with the project. I mean, like I mentioned, Drew, obviously, he produced the whole damn thing.
Sure.
But then you had him in, and then Kev Choice was on the keys pretty much throughout the whole thing. Who else was kind of working with it outside of the features, obviously?
Man, it was another person. It was Drew's homie.
Sax, right?
Saxophonist. Yeah, I want to say his name is Francis. I got to talk to Drew. It was Drew's people.
Yeah.
But he's all over it. Like you said, our men is all over it. Played a big part. Jane Hancock played a heavy part, because that's one of the favorites that people are coming back to me about. Stunnerman played a heavy part, you know, and he's been hitting me up like, bro, where's the video? When we go shoot the video? So yeah, we got stuff in the works just from all the features. And Isaiah Mustafa killed both of his features, so everybody played like a real heavy part.
No, it shows. It doesn't show, like, it doesn't feel like people just kind of were sent the beats and they like phoned in the verse. Like they really wanted to put out that verse with it.
Exactly.
And I mean, kind of going into the album now, like you mentioned Isaiah Mustafa, like the first track with him, what was it? All This Game?
Yep.
Like it was mostly him. Like, and was that, I'm assuming that was intentional.
So no lie, when we talked about it, and that's why we kind of did like a flip when we did Monday through Sunday, but for All This Game, you know, Isaiah he's used to always doing the hooks and doing the bridges, and he told me that. So he came in the studio, he was like, bro, I just have a bunch of bars, you know, I'm just kind of separating them out. And I'm like, all right, bet, I'll piggyback off of you. And then from there, that's where I kind of came with the melodies and just stuff like that. And then at the end, I'm like, okay, now let me foot the gas at the end, because he's been gassing this whole track. I got to step on it. So
Yeah, that makes sense. They kind of, like, going into that, it kind of reminded me of the whole like, it was years ago where there's a lot of talk about you'll have a featured artist, so you'll have the main performer,
right,
then the feature, and then the main performer's got to come back and just like kind of solidify that, no, this is my track. Like that didn't really seem like it was there a little bit, but it wasn't necessarily like, oh no, that was the main focus. Like you kind of wanted to make it feel like it was more collaborative,
especially with everybody who I created with really feels like family to me. So even like in the sense of working with them, it never felt ego based. It kind of all just kind of felt like two artists working on a mural. That's what each track really felt like. So that's why I'm like, hey, do what you do, and then I'll pick up, and then I'll do what I do, and you pick up from there. And luckily, like it blossomed into something beautiful for each track.
It really was like a team effort then.
Yeah, for surely.
Nice. I had a few things that we can go into before the album. I mean, we kind of started touching into the album a little bit.
Okay.
But first of all, congrats from getting that shout out from Ebro.
Oh, thank you, bro.
Like that was a pretty big look for sure.
No, it's definitely a good feeling. Like I said, bro, it's tight to not have a big machine with this project, but seeing some of the organic growth and the organic, hand to hand, I'm feeling like seeing people. I'm no lie, it sounds funny. It may not be, you may not see all the likes and all this and all the comments, but I've been seeing people follow more. And then when I tap in or when I'm going places, people actually stop me and be like, hey, like, I did hear your project. And it's kind of tight to see. I'm just like, okay, this is the real organic building. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, it's like you're talking about, likes and follows don't necessarily mean anything, like when they're not approaching you or like listening to it.
You feel me?
Like when you actually have them out there and like just talking to you, like that's for sure a better feeling.
Impact. I'm starting it. I've always seen it, and now I think I'm seeing it in my own career, which is tight to see. But the impact of where you're really touching people, and you can see the people show up. I'm starting to realize, like, yeah, that's where it's at. That's the big thing, and that's where artists start to make that shift. So it's cool to see that, like all the way from shooting off the porch video and seeing everybody pull up, and to the listening party, and then looking around and looking back at photos and seeing about like 50 plus people were there.
It was a packed room.
Yeah, you feel me? And it's just tight to see where it's just like, okay, like it's starting to be felt. So now let's just keep on planting these seeds and watch it grow.
Hopefully it continues to pay off.
Oh yeah, I think it will.
I mean, I'm like my main, I guess my rap listening career started with like Tech Nine and them, and they were the type of people who just tour constantly. Right. They're always in your face. Right. So, I mean, having that sort of presence, and it's kind of similar in that sense, where it's like you're making music that's like true to you, it's like stuff that you really want to put out, so people connect with it a little bit more, and then just obviously being at shows and just being places.
you got to push. I think that's what I'm just learning even more too. Is just you have to. Don't be afraid to market yourself. Don't feel like you're being annoying, or don't feel like it's like, nah, like now there's certain ways to go about it, but you can get spammy, but in the same breath, like never feel any type of way about promoting yourself. The biggest thing I would just say is just find different creative ways to promote yourself. Then that way you kind of start to have fun with the creativity along with the marketing. That's the biggest thing I started kind of putting together, which kind of gives you more life. I know a lot of artists kind of sometimes we need to know it, but kind of hate the marketing and business aspect of it. But when you can find the joy in doing it, then that's when everything starts kind of full circle coming together.
No, for sure. And especially now, because we're in an age where everything's on social media anyway, you got to be able to promote yourself somehow. You got to show yourself. And it kind of sucks because like artists that are getting signed to majors are now expected to do all their own promotion as well. But I don't know. Part of it's like just how things are going now. Right. But also it's like, all right, there's a shift in terms of like how much support you're getting from labels and just everything there.
No lie. I say this more and more to artists too. Like, be your own label. Even if you have a label situation, never forget to be your own label. Because, like a lot of label situations, at least these days, it's kind of like they're kind of meeting you in the middle. You feel me? Now, they have a little bit more leverage where they could push certain things, but in the same breath, you have to bring stuff to the table. So, own that mindset and take it on one already. I think artists can be used to being pampered, and can be used to certain things, but we just kind of got to get out that mentality and just put your feet on the ground and move. And then, no lie, like, people usually tend to help you when you help yourself.
Yeah, like just having that that faith in yourself, the confidence to actually do it.
That's when people be like, "Oh, okay, well, let me come help you." Like you tend to look like you got it down already,
Yeah.
which is kind of funny because like, well, damn, when I asked for your help, then, but you have to just take that with a grain of salt and understand that what you're doing is working. When it gets to that point, what you're doing is working.
Yeah, no, I feel that same way. Not necessarily just with like the podcast, but also like with photography. Like, I went to the Arm & Hammer show and tried to hit up everyone involved. No one responded. I posted the photos. Elucid hit me up. He's like, "Yo, those are great."
See.
So it's like, sometimes you just gotta like, you gotta be okay with people not necessarily embracing you right away.
Yeah.
And then also just not have any hard feelings about it, I guess.
Bro, you gotta champion yourself. Ironically, that's the reason why my project back in the day was Champion.
Yeah.
You feel me? And I even though it was a play on my name, that's where that came from. It was just like, well, no, like I gotta see this now and speak it to existence going forward.
Yeah. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. We started talking about labels just a little bit. How's the situation with Jamla been? Like, I don't think you're with them currently.
Yeah.
But how was that whole thing, I guess?
Everything's a lesson or a blessing. And what I can say is that situation taught me a lot. I was in the artist incubator, so like I know what it looks like to see other artists drop, and it's like it's not your time yet. Still hone this craft, still tighten this up, and I'm thankful for that because being over there taught me that. And I can definitely say like I got to meet a lot of great artists through those doors, just being over at Jamla and Bright Lady. Got to be a part of a lot of good music conversations and business music conversations that just kind of showed me and taught me more. And it's something that I'll never regret. You know, it's definitely something that I can say like, hey, it all helped me get to where I'm at now.
Right. Everything's a learning experience.
For surely.
Like you grow from everything.
For surely. I think the moment that you decide not to is where you start holding on to bitterness or holding on to whatever weird emotions, and then that sets you backwards. Like you gotta let whatever weird feelings you have in any situation, you gotta let it go and understand that like, nah, there's positive in each situation. For real.
Yeah. It's just good for everything. Not even just your situation specifically.
Right.
Anything in life.
Anything in life. That was my biggest lesson that I can also say I learned even over at Jamla, because when I was over at Jamla, a lot of life was hitting me in different type of ways that people just didn't know. Right. And I kind of had to understand it's like, all right, well, either you gonna break down and fold, or you gonna kind of get your shit together and try to find a silver lining so you can keep pushing forward. So that's why I say I'm definitely thankful for my time over there.
For sure. Now we can get into the album a little bit.
Okay.
We'll do random tangents here and there, but that's just how
you can rock and roll.
That's just how conversations go.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So from the start, Run It Up. I mentioned, I think last time, that you felt a lot more comfortable with experimenting and like trying different flows out. Because if I remember right, on this song you had. It felt like a super manic flow, but it was also very contained and intentional, it felt like.
Exactly.
Was that kind of the goal for like just the intro track?
Yeah, because the intro track, I wanted people to feel the sense of, okay, he's having fun, but he's also talking about something that can be a little heavier and land the home. And I think that was big for me because just listening to some of my other music, I feel like, sometimes people will put the conscious tag on you or put this type of label on you. And my thing that I wanted to show is just like, no, I just make music that's honest to me, so let me show you it in creative ways. And then if you want to call it conscious later on, go ahead. But in the same breath, like, let me have fun with what I'm doing.
Yeah, it's like this is my music.
Exactly. This is my baby, so take it how it comes.
Oh, that makes sense. We briefly already talked about All This Game, and I don't remember if we touched on why exactly we had Isaiah at the beginning. It was really just that he had the extra like verses basically ready to go.
Right, like
right?
he came in because a lot of the music me and Drew made to like Gather, and then some of the, like we had some of the other artists kind of come in our sessions and whatnot. But Isaiah with that one, I actually had sent him that beat already, so he had already kind of started pinning some stuff and what he had coming together. So he came in 100 miles and running like, all right, bro, here the bars, and I was like, okay, that's perfect. And then from there we just started structuring the song.
Sweet. Before we get way into the rest of the track list, sequencing is one of the things that I feel is super important with an album.
Yes.
What was going through your mind when you're like putting the album together in terms of like what track goes where?
To be honest, that's where I get my Drew Banga on. That's where I get my DJ on. And Drew put in his 2 cents, 10 cents.
Yeah.
You feel me as well. But I like to listen to a track list and think about like a roller coaster, like a wave. Like I don't want it just to be here. I don't want it just to be here. Like I really want you to kind of ride the story with me. So a lot of it was me listening to sounds, listening to BPMs, also, to be real, listening to when I made certain songs. Like some of the songs are older than other songs.
Right.
So it was a mesh of all that to then find like, all right, here's what feels cohesive. And then from there, I'll let, I got several tastemakers who I go to. I'm like, how does this feel to you? And once people be like, oh yeah, I like this vibe. And I'm like, all right, bet, here's a track list.
Nice. And so going back to like how you structure the song, I guess.
Right.
Like it definitely makes a lot of sense to have it feel more like a wave or like kind of like a roller coaster, because you don't have like random highs and lows. Like it's just kind of good all the way through.
See, and I actually learned that from like another DJ like friend of mine who then was just kind of breaking down to me, because I had went to one of their DJ sets and I'm just like, you killing it, like, but then that's when they broke down to me. That was like, well, tempos is actually a big thing when you're DJing. It's not me just playing what you actually think is hot. I actually have like a plan. And from there, that just kind of stuck with me. So then when I start listening to my own music, I'm like, okay, like what tempo is going to then carry into this? Like if I do take you high, what's the tempo I want to make you kind of come back mellow?
Right.
So that's how I kind of like started putting everything together.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting, because it's like, even though DJing and rapping and just production in general is like, it's very related, it's still different enough that I don't think a lot of people would have thought that way.
Cause like I said, bro, that's the art part. That's where I really say like this stuff is like a canvas and you throwing paint, because it's really about the textures and different things depending even on how you painting. You got watercolors, and then you got like your heavy paint, and you got like your pastel chalky paint, like and it's all about how you put it together and make it art. So that's exactly how I look at music.
Oh, sweet. That makes total sense. Getting back into the album though. Next up we had It's Regular.
Yep.
And the only note I had for it was it's very much a it is what it is sort of vibe, but not in a bad way. Like you're kind of taking things as they go and like reflecting on it almost.
Exactly. And also, I won't ever forget making that record, because I remember I just kind of like came up with the hook, and then we had Amin sing it, and she just did it so effortlessly. But then later on, I remember listening to the record back at Drew's crib, and there was a friend of mine that came over, and the homie named like Phil from Trey Coastal.
Okay.
And Phil heard it, and he was just like, bro, that's crazy how he said you kind of turned a sideshow into like a socially conscious song. And honestly, that was kind of like my point. It was like I wanted to take you into different parts of what you might see as this like alarming, but like, nah, let me bring you in here so you see the art of what I'm seeing, and that was the whole thing for like It's Regular. I know good, bad, and ugly is regular, but let me go ahead and, even if it's just that simple, let me map it out for you how it looks.
Yeah, because it's, going back to the whole idea of the album, it's really just a mix of stuff around you at all times, but putting it in a way that isn't necessarily palatable, but it's just a different way to look at it.
Exactly.
So next up we had Food for Thought, and it was very much just a song where you rap straight through, almost kind of like a stream of consciousness. Was that like the intention of it? Because it's kind of like right in the middle of the album almost, right?
Or track number 4.
Yeah, it's
right
okay. So the early half.
No lie, Drew actually had hit me up and told me, he was like, "Yeah, I want one where you just rap all the way through," and I was like, "All right, for sure." And then when I heard the beat, I was like, okay, what I call these type of songs, I like to call it kind of like going downhill, because the whole mindset for me is like, think of a snowball going downhill and turning into like a big ass snowball. It's like every bar connects and it just gets bigger. And that's how
ramps up.
Yeah, and that's how I went about that song. It was just kind of like, all right, this is my vent session, but this is also, I'm gonna give you bar for bar for bar. You know, I had to add extra money for you know?
Next we had Monday Through Sunday, another song with Isaiah Mustafa.
Yep.
And it sounded like a pretty straightforward song, but what was the plan going into that song? Was this another song that Isaiah just kind of had stuff ready for?
Yeah, that's why I said Isaiah is I say he's a problem, but he also said he's a solution, so I like the way he thinks. No, to be real, we were working on all this game, and I won't forget it. Like, the session was kind of like almost done. We put everything together. Oh, excuse me. And then he was like, "Oh, I got something else for the other beat too." And I was like, "Okay, bet. Like, what you got?" And we had maybe like 15 minutes left in the session. And then he laid down that hook, and I just looked at him. I said, "Bro, what?" I was like, "This is what you just had, like, just the whole time,
just in the back pocket."
Yeah, I'm like, that's perfect. So honestly, within like that 15 minutes, we just kind of like laid it down real quick, got it layered down, and from there, after putting like a slight mix on it, I sat with the song probably for a week. You know, just kind of like feeling it, and then when everything just hit me, that's when my verse just flew out. You know, song about the women. I feel like you have to have a song for the women, you know.
Yeah, it's like, why not?
It helps. It definitely helps, for surely.
Yeah, and I mean, going into how it came to you, I think a lot of people have that same sort of process, where it's like they won't necessarily have something right away, but they'll have an idea, and then just one day it's like, all right, bet I'm gonna just write it all out.
No, bro, because I'm very much so life based when it comes to my music. Like, either it's really me or it's very close to home, you know. So I gotta also live life with what I'm talking about. Right. You know, I can make a song a day. You know, I've done it, but you know, I've realized that impactful music is the stuff where you can provide that feeling. So I didn't write that verse until, ironically, like, me and my girl actually had like a weekend where we spent some time with each other, and then that's where everything kind of came to me. I'm just kind of like, you know what? She gave me inspiration, and then that's where I wrote the verse.
Hell yeah. That's dope. Damn, I deadass had something and then I lost it. He'll come back. Oh no, actually, you're talking about how you pull inspiration from like just real life events, stuff happening to you or people around you. I don't know if you checked out Reason's album.
I did,
but he was on the Rory Mal podcast talking about it and how his last album, or actually his like debut, he was like getting real personal and like just kind of put it out there. And at first it was just a mixtape, and he was like, you know, calling people by their names and everything, and then it got put out on TDE, and then people were like, hey, relax. Is that something that you've had to run into at any point, or do you tend to reach out to people before you mention their stories?
Man, I'll be honest, I kind of tend to just do what I do. But don't get me wrong, it's kind of 50-50. You know, I feel like if it's something like quick, you know, sometimes I know the people who I'm even talking about don't even really put it together, right? You know, but there have been stories like I got a homie named Ryan, and I made a song called Ryan Song, and I made sure, I'm like, no, like, listen to this. Right. And then like he heard it, and then I told him, yeah, I want to put it on my project. And he was like, yeah, bro, do it. You know, so like I definitely do give people that grace. If I'm telling like their story to a T,
Right.
you know, for surely. But if it's something that's connecting both of us, you know, I might not just, yeah.
Yeah, it's just kind of like whatever makes sense. Like if it's something that other people pick up on and be like, hey, I think I remember that happening, and I totally get it. Like, you want to be like, hey, let me at least warn you.
Bro, I've learned with music, unless it's like situations like this, not to like over explain it, just kind of let it be art. Bro, I done made a song about a person before and let them hear it, and they were like, oh, I like it. And I'm like, it's about you, you know. But it just kind of showed me just at that moment. I'm just kind of like, oh, okay, like I kind of see more how this works, you know. Unless I'm really putting your name in or whatever, I just kind of let the art be the art.
Fair. All right, now we're off the porch.
Off the porch.
The single, the video's coming out soon, right?
Yes, for surely.
And my main note for was like, it was kind of a, hey, this is where I am, this is who I am, this is where I'm at now. And just it's just good vibes overall, honestly.
No lie. So with Off the Porch, for me, that was my Ice Cube. Today was a good day. You know, you feel me like that? That was like where I took it. Where it's like okay, let me take these moments where I've been in the town, you know, where I'm taking like boom, boom, all these situations. But at the end of the day, it's like still like I'm breathing, so I'm off the porch. I'm having fun with it. I'm outside, and that was my whole aspect and part. How like I wrote that. That's how I broke that one down for myself.
So it's actually interesting because I'm not gonna lie. When I first listened to it, I was like, ooh, I don't know, because like I think it was just the headphones I was listening to it on or something. But like it felt like the mix was a little bit off.
Yeah.
But then I went outside. I heard it in the car. I'm like, oh no, wait, this sounds good now. And then like I don't know if it was because everyone at the listening event was just there to enjoy the music together,
right,
or like what it was, but it just sounded great there.
No, to be honest, I've noticed that is one where it feels like when it becomes a crowd of people, when you play it, it kind of has more of a feel than maybe when you just play it alone, like, you know. But yeah, I'm definitely glad the way Off the Porch actually came across to people, because I'll keep it a bug with you. It wasn't my favorite at first.
Okay.
But Drew actually was just like, that's the single. And when he said it, I was like, that's the single? He was like, that's the single. I'm like, all right, for sure, that's the single. Yeah.
I mean, people definitely gravitated towards it.
No, people like that one. So, shit. You like it, I love it.
Yep.
God damn it.
Now your favorite song on the album.
Yeah.
Skyrise.
That is my favorite song on the album.
We did briefly talk about it last time, but if you want to explain why it's your favorite track on the album.
For me, Skyrise is my favorite song because it's one of those songs where it's like, it's me in that moment. Like this is really me giving you myself. Not to say like all my records aren't like that, but I just remember writing that, and everything I'm talking about I was going through in that exact moment. Like, you know, looking up at the sky rises, looking at everything and seeing where I see myself. And like I said, you know, they tell you what you do, what you can do and where you can't go. But you know, for me, I'm like, I see myself taking this as far as I could take it, and shit, skyrise. So let's take it past the limit, you know. So that's why that one really meant a lot to me, as well as, you know, when you listen to the song, I'm getting a lot. It felt like a deep breath, you know, at the end of it, because I had got a lot off my chest in that song.
Yeah. I mean, when I first listened to it, I kind of took that. People don't really, like, people will tell you everything, like anything to kind of like, hey, no, you can't do that. Anything to keep you down, to dissuade you from doing what you want to do. But then you kind of keep it going, and you, like, that's part of the rise up. But also, like, people who are supporting you, they don't necessarily tell you everything that you're going to run into, and like, I mean, they won't necessarily know.
Exactly.
So there's all those things that you run into on the rise.
And to be real, I feel like people, and it's no knock, you know, humans are going to be humans, but I think sometimes people will tell you just enough, but not really kind of tell you what it may look like on the other side, because like you said, they haven't experienced it themselves. So what they're giving you is their projection of what the limit is for them. But it's like, well, no, the ceiling is 8 feet for you. It's 20 feet for me. You feel what I'm saying? And that's why I was like, I wrote Skyrise. I'm just like, nah, I don't want another person to feel like the next person is capping their potential. Your potential is as far as you want to take it if you believe in yourself.
Yeah, sky's the limit. Now we have Distance with Jane.
Yep.
And that's the song that everyone seems to love.
People
like,
definitely love that.
At the listening party, people are like, no, run it back.
Yes.
Like, no, we gotta get through the rest of this first.
For surely.
And what's crazy is my only note on it is I can't believe you made a Doug reference. You just kind of snuck that one in there.
Bro, I snuck in a Doug reference. I snuck in a Peter Griffin Family Guy reference on another song. Like, I be watching my cartoons. I ain't gonna hold you.
But what can you tell us about that track though?
Man, Distance, it's me and Jane just mesh well in the studio. It's very easy when we like create and make songs together. And so that one, to be real, I had told her an idea I had for a record, and I always tell people this story because she came with like a whole different type of hook and a different type of energy, and that's not exactly what I wanted. Everything she does is dope, but I'm just like, this isn't the feel I really want, friend. Can you make it like this? And then when I expressed to her like what I was really going at in the song, she's like, okay, bet. And I saw her cook it up in the next like 15, 20 and just put it together, and I'm like, perfect, like off to the races now, and then after I heard that part, then I was able to write my second verse, even just out for her piggybacking off of my first one. So like, yeah, that one is a special track just because, I made it with a dear friend of mine, and we did it in our own special way. So that's why that one kind of came about, just real tough like that. Yeah,
it's like a proper collaboration. But also it's like, I think that maybe that's why people gravitate to it so much, just because it sounds so good together.
Right. I told, man, me and her already have a bunch of songs like in the take. What comes out, what doesn't, I don't know. But what I can say is that each one that does come out, I promise you, every song that me and Jane drop is usually gonna have that type of feel where it's just like, okay, y'all fuck with it. I like this. Yeah. So yeah.
I mean, the EP that you put out last year, like that one had that vibe all over it.
Exactly. And bro, Quiet as Kept, we might have made both of those tracks like in that kind of same time period. It was around like kind of like that same area. So that would also even make sense too, just why they just kind of came off real easy, real effortless.
That makes sense. Speaking of Jane though, like you mentioned that she basically just had the hook redone in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Like I've heard so many stories of her just like going crazy like that. Like I don't remember what album I was talking to Monty about, but he's like, yeah, no, I sent it over to Jane, and like within an hour, she sent it back to me. Like,
yeah,
what? Like she just lives in the studio, just always ready.
It's tight where like you hear the stories about like how we all know the Jay-Z story where like Hove don't write, and then I've seen where like Lil Wayne doesn't write. She doesn't write, and it's tight to see it come together. Yeah, because it's almost kind of it's simple, but then it's not like the way she does it, and that's how is genius behind it for her to make it look so simple. But like, yeah, like I've literally watched and seen her just piece by piece put songs together, phrase by phrase, and then bam, and it just come together like, oh shit, like. But it's tight because it's just kind of like, damn, it's like, did you see that before you started, or did each piece come? She might be the next one you need to holler at, just to get her whole process down. But like, yeah, it's very dope to see.
Yeah. All right, we're getting towards the end of the album now. We got Bounce to Stunner Man.
Yes, sir.
And this is another track that I feel like a lot of people were super into. It's the vibe. Like it's one of those songs that's like it's perfect for like when the album dropped, because it was like right at the end of summer, like right at the beginning of the Bay Area summer, really.
Exactly.
But it's like it's just one of those songs that you can just throw on if you're going out or if you're just riding somewhere. It's easy.
For me, bro, I call that my read the room track, because I know where I'm from, I know where I'm at. You feel me? So it's kind of like you still want to give people a piece of the soil, a piece of where you from, and I'm like, well, let's throw some slappers on there. I think at this point, people know I can rap. Yeah. And people have heard me on the boom bap feel and have heard me on different type of BPMs, but I'm just like, nah, but like I make music, you know? So like if you want slap, you want conscious, you want pop song, I might fuck around make a country song tomorrow if I want to. Like, you feel me? Like, I just wanted to show people like, nah, like I'm here and I'm representing y'all too. So let me give you one of them ones where it's just like you could just throw it on and slap it.
That makes sense. And I guess that's kind of one of those things where, do you feel pressured to make that sort of song at all? I mean, I don't think you do, but
nah, to be honest, it didn't feel pressured. I was kind of more excited because it's kind of more like I've been waiting to show y'all like no, like I got this in the tank too. Like we can start throwing these out here too. It's just, for me, it just felt good just to kind of be able, like you said, there's so many different sounds, but to show you like, well, no, this is all in my utility belt. This is how I really get down. Like I love making music, and I don't see any rules or anything that's holding me back. And I learned that from a homie of mine, about an engineer who I first worked with by the name of MBs. And MBs just, that's one of the things he always preached to me, just kind of as we were always progressing, just there ain't no rules. It was like, he was like, you can literally create them as you go with this shit. And I'm just like, all right. And I see that more and more these days.
Yeah. I mean, don't limit yourself.
Exactly. And then Bounce, I love the way Bounce was created, because I didn't even know Stunner Man when we made that song. I was over at Drew's house. Yeah. We were working on that track. I actually want to say I actually had a different verse too. I had two verses, and we wound up taking one off. And Stunner Man came in the session, didn't know who I was, and it was one of the moments where it's like, you know, somebody's like, he's like, oh, he was cool with me, but it's just like, all right. And then he heard the song, and I saw him. He kind of look at me, just like, you tight. Let me get on this. And it was just kind of like, but he was just kind of like, bro, is it cool if I hop on? I'm like, yeah, bro, for sure. It's tight. It's whatever.
Hell yeah.
And he hopped on and he did it. And I think what also felt kind of tight is this, like, we did that song, and I want to say it was like right before Big Steppin' blew up. Like, it was kind of like right.
That's long ago then.
Like right around there. I want to say so is when we kind of started like making it. Either it had just came out, or it hadn't came out just yet. But I think that's what also was like tight. Was that, like, you feel me? Like, he was just somebody that was already catching his bubble, and he was just willing to just work just because he's felt I was talented. So I got a lot of love for that dude, because he comes in positive. You know, he shows a lot of love. He's active in the community. He does a lot of stuff. So for me, he always gets, you know, my head nod with whatever he got going on.
Yeah, he's also just one of those guys that you see everywhere. Like,
bro,
you'll just see him walking around.
What? I remember one day I wanted to ask him, like, bro, you from San Francisco, right? Because shit, I see you in the town more than me, you know? So, right. But I think that also speaks volumes. You know, he's touching everywhere and got respect everywhere. So, you know, you can't do nothing but respect that.
Yeah, of course. You got to respect that. Also, you got to stay busy.
Right, come on now.
Now, we had the last track, Spinning.
Yeah.
And I felt like it was a really solid outro. And it almost felt like, we mentioned the EP that you put out last year, but it almost feels like it could have been from that EP as well, just that same sort of vibe. And I don't know if this one came from that era as well. It might have, but
Spinning, no. To be honest, and it's crazy when I think about it now. Spinning actually might have been the first song we made. Yeah, I want to say either Run It Up or Spinning. Like, those were like some of the first two tracks we made, which is the first kind of like ghetto gospel feel we started feeling with it.
Kind of like the vibe check.
Which is kind of why we kind of bookended it like that.
Okay.
But yeah, Spinning, when I wrote that, bruh, to be honest, it sounds funny, but I was thinking about like old Nipsey. And Nipsey had a mixtape called Bullets Ain't Got No Names. And that album, just kind of like that title, just stuck in my head. and just kind of just thinking about stuff. So then as I started writing the hook, you know, that's how like it kind of came about like that.
Sweet.
Mm-hmm.
That's dope. That makes a lot of sense to kind of start and end the album with like the first couple songs that you made.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because if those are the ones that really set the tone for the project, like why not?
As I said, the perfect sandwich. And no lie, I think that's also what helped me kind of like give off the way I described the project. For me, the project feels like of a house party and, you know, church got let out at the same time. So I'm like, well, let me go ahead and bookend it like that. Let me start it off with like giving you that vibe and end it just because I already gave you everything else in the middle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, that's the album. What else we got cooking?
Man, we got some more stuff with MacArthur Mays.
Mm-hmm.
Actually have a deluxe project that should be dropping in like November.
Oh,
know, so we're pushing that next. Quiet as Kept. Man, me and Drew have been getting so much love recently from this. They actually been talking about a deluxe project. So me and Drew have actually tapped in with several artists who we want to be a part of the deluxe. Now it's just kind of like making the songs real quick, getting everything together. Okay. And man, bro, kid you not, I got so many like project after project just kind of in the tuck that sometimes I don't be liking to talk about all of them. But what I can say is that I'm loaded up, and it feels good to be able to say I'm loaded up, and I'm ready to kind of continue to give people more of this art.
Nice.
Yes, sir.
Well, this is part 2.
Part 2.
Soulful of It. It's out now.
Out now, man.
Check it out. It's definitely a good listen, and I mean, I guess keep your eyes out for that deluxe. Hopefully sooner rather than later, but you know, when it comes, it comes. And MacArthur Mays, obviously, Black Saturday out now. Check out the deluxe when that comes out.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything else that you wanted to shout out, but
shout out bar for bar.
Hey.
Want to shout out my mama, my family members, my loved ones, my community, my tribe. No lie, this doesn't really get too far without all of y'all. So thank you. I'm appreciative, and shit, we got more music on the way.
Hell yeah.
Bar for bar.